Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we have some kind of crazy news going on over here where one of the big PlayStation 5 exclusive games are actually getting, well, absolutely hammered these past few days. Now, as you guys do not know, there's quite a few big game companies out there that, well, make video games. And one of the big ones out there is Square Enix, and it's been one of the bigger issues recently with PlayStation where things are just not lining up for them. We had a massive drop in the stock price. People are actually somewhat concerned, and as well, the future and also issues with PlayStation 5 exclusivity is also going to be highlighted pretty heavily. So we're going to go talk about this because there's kind of some spicy drama all going on throughout today. A lot of corporate stuff, but as well a lot of kind of crazy gaming news. So make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. We have the Samsung links all down below with the how links, so check those on out. If you guys want to give me a suggestion on what you guys want to do a giveaway to, because the sponsorship and the hashtag stuff is going phenomenal. So if you guys do want to go check out the phone, tablet, all that stuff, they're all linked down below. We also have the Twitter and Twitch if you guys want to follow it. Of course, subscribe if you guys are new. Give me your thoughts and comments, and all the sell, it's almost done. Let's dive into the video itself. So one big thing to go and know. If you guys ever know, first and foremost, Final Fantasy 16 was released not too long ago, basically for exclusivity, at least for a portion of time, for the PlayStation 5. And that did lead into some big issues because there is not as much of a big install base as people expect, and as well, apparently some of these sales expectations were not as good as expected. And so far these past few days, we've been seeing the Square Enix stock not doing the best. As of even just today alone, it's down 4.78%, but as well, if you guys kind of look through some of the most recent days, it's had a pretty decent substantial drop. Maybe this is probably like the best chart to go and show where many people were excited and hyped up for Final Fantasy 16. As you guys know, it takes multiple years, big game, big marketing, PlayStation 5 exclusivity, and all of that. But, well, sadly, with all the rumors and numbers coming out with the, well, game itself, things have not taken the best turns. Now, this is not the most drastic, I would go and say, but if you guys ever look at, say, certain types of sale charts, that just looks like a straight down curve. And the overall stock market's not necessarily doing too forly in general. Like, it's not looking that bad. You can see some other stuff, like, you know, like, say, Amazon, Squareface, whatever. So they're doing all right. Nintendo's down a little bit on the day itself, but don't forget, Nintendo also has Square Enix things. Sometimes it's correlative, whatever. But as of right this second, Square Enix is not doing well. They sold off a lot of their additional Western-style game and game holdings, and they kind of have to go and somewhat ride the Final Fantasy hype. They realize Final Fantasy is one of the bigger games out there, and, well, right as of today, it has not been, well, good. So first and foremost, we've been looking at some of the sales numbers too, and apparently there's been around 3 million copies sold, give or take, right now for Final Fantasy 16. Now, in most retrospective games, that's pretty good. Like, if you have any normal AAA game or whatever, that's not the worst. It could be better, it could be worse, but, like, it's not like a dunzo floppo game. But if you compare it to other various things, such as Final Fantasy 15 or even Remastered, apparently the numbers are way different. If you guys want to compare, apparently Final Fantasy 7 Remake was at 3.5 million sales, so above the total number of sales in just 3 days. So in like an even smaller period with a long more time of a buffer time to go sell games, and as well also with a bigger, larger install base, it actually went a lot longer, and also, well, it had more overall sales, more hype, DLCs, and everything else. And then if you can also compare it to the Final Fantasy 15 as well, also had a pretty good sales figures above these 3 million copies during the launch week itself. Now, we also have been hearing that apparently right now the game has hit a net equal. So it did go pay for itself, which is usually the biggest thing for most games. They want to make sure the game at least does not bankrupt the company itself. So that's like the first and foremost off the chart. But right now there is a bajillion different things right now in these these really big meetings and like Square, like there's all the stuff. Like Square Enix is kind of breaking the silence, saying that the Final Fantasy sales are now not meeting your expectations of what they're expecting. So while a month ago Square Enix said that Final Fantasy sales were extremely strong after selling 3 million copies of the PS5 exclusive in a week, the momentum has appeared to trailed off significantly. And that's another big reason why a lot of these things have gone down, because they're just not selling and making enough money on their game itself. Some folks are assuming it might be because of the PlayStation 5 exclusivity. Because if you guys go look at, say, Final Fantasy 15, that game also did, I believe, also have, you know, the occasional launches on, you know, other sides, that they basically had the games ready to be sold. And, well, this one did not. Like, as of right now, it's not on PC, I believe, and it's also not on Xbox, obviously, right now. And so as of Square Enix's latest earnings report, so like their big corporate stuff, which is why the stock kind of went down, while net sales increased, operating profit dropped from 79% from 14.4 billion to around 3 billion itself. So it went down a lot. Like, operating profit dropping 79% is insane. Now, during a post-earnings call to an analyst, as reported by Bloomberg, Square Enix says that expectations for Final Fantasy sales have not been outmatched. And we heard this kind of talking out maybe about like a week or so or so, maybe like 2 weeks ago or so, where basically they're saying like, yeah, we might have to even put the game up on sale already. This is a pretty well like recently made game, and it's also Final Fantasy. Like there's like hundreds of hours, not hundreds, but like a lot of hours of game to go get played. And right now it does kind of seem like Square Enix has been mostly being held up by the MMO. Like I feel like Final Fantasy 14 itself has been a very, very big game and big game focus where they're driving continual profit, and they just announced up the new expansion. But Final Fantasy 16 as a main said game is kind of expected to go carry the weight a little bit more. So some of them have actually been saying though, the expectations have not been met because of the slow adoption of the PS5. So first and foremost, like there's only around 40 million consoles, probably a little bit more at this point, and that's not a bad number. That's pretty good. But if it being only a PlayStation 5 exclusive, that also means that there's probably over 100 million other consoles, if you factor in like PC and Xbox or even PS4 all put together, that are just not hitting those current markets. Now, over time, as more people buy the console, that means they'll probably have more people that are going to be buying the game. So like the sales are not going to stall and like to zero, but they also have apparently been slowing down. And now a big thing too is like typically when you buy a console, if a game's older, you probably want to wait for the game to be on sale because you're going to kind of miss the FOMO anyway for the game itself. The other issue though is apparently that Final Fantasy costs a lot of money to make, which hammered that operating income. Because if you spend $100 million to go, that's a random number, to go and make a game, then you only make $101 million. Yeah, the company kept going, salaries are being paid, like your workers are probably happy, but at the end all be all, your overall company only made $1 million. You have to factor in taxes, you have to factor in like real estate, you have to factor in like, you know, all that type of stuff where it comes to companies too as well, marketing, etc. So basically there's another stories you can basically get extract from this one. I think we've covered a few, but while Sony and Square Enix have had a really good relationship, and some people still are assuming they may just say whatever, and go try to buy out, you know, Square Enix as a company, especially because they got and sold out some of their other parts of the company, or even Xbox too, because they do have an Xbox partnership. Right now, it does kind of seem like it might actually be hindering Square Enix itself, because basically right now, PlayStation does have the lock-in, and unless they offer them a lot of money, like we're talking like $50 million, to have an exclusivity, which I'm not really sure if they really paid that much money, or if they even have any proper talks, whether it's like a buddy-buddy system, will give you marketing for free or what, but right now, it actually may have actually hindered Square Enix a lot. Like the stock itself, as you guys saw, had a pretty big substantial fall. So basically, yeah, it's a little bit scary. So it is a PS5 exclusive, not a brand or console exclusive, and Final Fantasy did not release a lower spec version for PS4. It also did not launch in PC as well, although it should be coming later on. I'm sure it'll do well, like I'm sure people will buy the games too, but it also didn't launch on Xbox, so it does kind of seem like it just could have been a lot better. And this is like scary because all these big game companies are worried about this too. So people did like the game as well. So like it's not only a console issue, although that probably does play a really big factor on that. But I'm sure the sales will be fine as more consoles keep getting sold. One big thing to kind of go and note is that it kind of seemed like a lot of people didn't like the idea of it being so cinematic. Like I was okay with it myself, but I didn't really, like if I want to watch someone on Twitch or YouTube, it was kind of like hard to pick up randomly, because if you miss 5 minutes of stuff, 10 minutes of like a big cutscene, you have to step away, you miss one stream or whatever, then at that point you just didn't really know what was going on. But as well as also not as much action. Like I feel like a lot of people always enjoy the exploration side and like having a chance to go and like fight monsters and do dungeons. And I saw that a little bit when it came to the game, but it kind of seemed a little bit more on the bare bones compared to the actual lore. Now I like story, I like drama, and maybe that's why they try to push it with Yoshi P, because he's always had a really good storyline for things like Final Fantasy 14. But one big thing is as an MMO, and most people don't mind kind of slogging through content and enjoying the lore building and world building, because it affects the ongoing year of the game. Like you basically have a year to play the game. Whereas Final Fantasy 16, where you think a lot of gamers want to beat it within the first few weeks or so to avoid spoilers or anything of the sort. Now it is kind of crazy too, because Baldur's Gate's been doing phenomenally well, both on Twitch and sales, concurrent player base, and it is an like a hardcore RPG. Although since it's more Dungeons and Dragons based, it has a little bit more extra, I think, validity when it comes to the games themselves. But overall, it does kind of seem like Square Enix itself kind of tried to go and ride the Final Fantasy vibe, and it's done all right. Like, I've gone through some Twitter comments, too, and they say, like, it was a good performance. Like, they made their money back. Like I said, they had the full expense for the game, too. Future sales are all profit. So at the end of the day, like, they're not doing horrible, but you'd also kind of expect some of these games to be, like amazing. Like, we're expecting Spider-Man 2 to go and drive a lot of money in sales. Not only cut, like, you don't want to just be even and then have sales slow down. You want to go and knock it out of the park. You want to go and make $100 million in the first few weeks, and then you get to go and ride the residuals for the rest of the time, and that can kind of maintain your company as you're making Final Fantasy 17, or working on Final Fantasy 14's MMO, or trying to go make brand new IPs. Because if you have a bad new IP like a Forspoken, and it doesn't do well, then guess what? You just lost a lot of money. So the more money you have, the free flow, the more chance you can take on riskier your IPs, and everything else is a little bit nicer at the end of the day. But it does kind of seem like this is a big worrisome for PlayStation itself, and as well as some drama coming on in. So give me your thoughts and comments down below. Of course, make sure you guys check out the Samsung HOT links all down below in the comment section and description. I appreciate that for #M. We have the Twitter and Twitch down below if you guys want to follow, and I appreciate you guys all so much for watching. Make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on.